G'day all, Ben here East West. I'm going to have a look at gold in this video this week, and it's been a pretty exciting week for the metals, hasn't it? Some pretty major breakouts. So let's have a look at what's going on here. So we'll just do the same thing. We'll start off just brushing over the US dollar really quickly. We'll have a look at gold itself, and then we'll have a look at GDX and see what we can put together from all that. So just to quickly brush over this, because as I said before, I think it's important to just have a bit of an idea of what the US dollar is doing, because of course all the metals are priced against it. So any weakness or strength in the US dollar, has to sort of keep your thinking adjusted. Now, this is where we left it last week. We're right here on this bar. This is where we closed last Friday, the 10th of May. And we were talking about how we had this good setup here where we had a nice touch up to the 61.8, and we were looking for the measured move down into the larger retracement zone and into all this area of support. And what happened as we play through? Lo and behold, that's exactly where we got to. So you might be asking, well, how did he know? Well, the answer is I didn't know. It's just a tendency of the market to want to do that. You just see this setup happen time and again, and I'm about to show you quite a few of them in a row in gold. But we did get down here, and this has definitely helped the rally in gold and the other metals to continue. So that's quite good. That's nice. We've come down and touched that. So we just got to be a little bit, I wouldn't say wary, but just mindful that this measured move now is done, and now it'd just be simply a case of taking the next measured move, which would be looking for a test back up to here. We've got a little bit of a low there, and this is where we sort of broke down from quite badly. So any sort of bounce in the dollar index back up into this zone, let's take this down to the 4 hour here, back up into this zone, which we're very close to doing, would warrant a bit of attention, because we want to see if the US dollar can get, or the dollar index itself can get back above this. I should just change the color of that. Yeah, much better. Now, if it gets back above this, it just might mean that the sequence is just starting to break up a little bit. But yeah, I think I also pointed out that, let's go back to the daily here. Yeah, I don't think it's, it hasn't painted in the pivots yet, but let's just have a look here. Yeah, so this downswing, we're just back on the 4 hour here, but this downswing, because it's painted it in, this downswing was 14 bars, 1.85%. So this downswing itself didn't travel as far, but it traveled longer. But I would still read that as the power might starting to run out of just this move down. So what I mean is just in the short term, just when we're talking about coming out of here as we came down here, I just think the power might be running out, and it makes sense that it's run into this retracement, that it might just have a little bounce. I'm still bearish overall, I think, but just in the short term, I'd just be thinking about that. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but certainly if we just get on the other side of this retracement, we start to break that, then there's probably going to be, obviously there's going to be some selling pressure up here. But certainly if we got above this pivot, well, then you'd be stopping to think. So, like I said, I'm still bearish, but I just want to see how it responds into next week. Because, of course, one data print can really turn it around, as we've seen how the market's reacting at the moment. So, with that said, even though we're still looking a little bit weak here in the US dollar, let's just have a look at the connotations for the actual contract of gold itself. So with gold, I just wanted to start out here on the weekly. I've been through this before, but I think we just refresh it, because now it looks like we're very close to busting through this top, and we've got to start to think about the top side and where the market might head to. So when I look at this, you've got effectively what's a triple top there. We had a double bottom here, and we had what looks like a really nice spring. Okay, so you could probably wipe this off a bit and say this was just that spring, that attempted breakdown that failed in this range, and then now we've moved away from it. So when I see that, I would just start to think about range expansion, which we've looked at before. Okay, so here was our range, and if we just expand the range out 100%, that would put us up here to 25.46. So I'll just mark that off, because that would just, for me, that would be a target, but it'd just be definitely an area of interest. So just because it gets there doesn't mean I necessarily want to sell my whole position, but I'd be expecting a reaction there. So I would just be thinking about that sort of area. That might be not 100% precise, but just think, 25.50, between 25.40 and 25 sort of 50, that would be the next area that I'd be thinking of. And then we can just sort of sharpen it up a bit and say, okay, well, look, this is the trend. Here's the retracement trade that we've got that's gone on so far. Up here, back here into the retracement zone, retested the old lows. We got to first target, and now we're through the second target, okay, of the measured move trade. So we are on the way up there. Now, at this point, of course, you're looking for the next measured move. So when we look at this one, we didn't quite make it back to the 50, okay? So at the moment, the large measured move trade, the next entry is we're still looking for it off here. You might find something smaller in there that triggered us in, but this would be, broadly speaking, this is where you'd be looking for. I'm going to just take this down to a daily, actually. Yeah, because we just didn't, let's just sharpen this up a bit. We just didn't quite, maybe we did. So I might have to correct myself here. So like I said, this is the first one, came down here. So where we hit it here. So even coming off this peak, okay, well, no, we got it. So sorry, pardon me, we did get it. So we did get the touchdown here off the low. So, and then we've got first target, and now we're through the second target. So really now what you'd be looking at, pardon me, I need to correct myself there, is that would be the next. And look how that just lines up with that. That's the next area. This is the bigger picture, right? This is the next area that we're looking at. So I think with that being said, there's one more thing I think we've got to be a bit mindful of here, just in the very short term when we're looking at this. And just so when I'm looking at the RSI, just on a daily here, it's not, I don't use it as a panic situation, but what I'm seeing is this, right? Now, I still don't mind this. This is okay because this bottom here is held, I like to see it hold sort of 40, right? So once it can hold 40, once it gets above, generally to me what that means is that the market is in a bullish stance. So in a bullish market, the RSI should travel between 40 and the overbought area. I mean, overbought is probably not the correct term, but we are just diverging here a little bit, and that's not necessarily a problem because, put it this way, if I see that, I'm not expecting that. I'm just expecting there's a chance that we might just, because it's a good run. I mean, I'm not saying I won't do that on Monday, but I just think that the chance that we might start doing that a bit before, just gather ourselves before we go up again. And what that would mean is that this RSI would travel down and then we'd be set for the next run back up. But there's definitely still room to rally here. So I'm not suggesting that it won't keep going. I'll just be a little bit mindful at the moment because there's a couple of just short-term things. So like I said, I think it's more about being up close here. So let's just duck in and have a look. So we're just here on the 4 hour, right? Hard right edge. And really, this is the only thing you really need to concentrate. This is a good trend, right? Look at the swing structure. It's just higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. It's ongoing, okay? Until this fails, until we actually start to get, and we will eventually, but until we start to actually get a correction, you just stick with it, okay? The trend is your friend. It's true. Like I think I was saying, don't buy this market until this trend breaks, and it did, and now look at it go. So one thing I really have liked about this movement in gold has been the way it's adhered to the measured move. So, like let's look at the first one, okay? Back to the 50, first target, second target. So this becomes the next pivot. We swing off. Take it up to here, exactly to the 61.8, right? First target here, reaction, just about at the second target. So that progression is fantastic. Like that you, I don't know if it has to be any more difficult than that. Once you get on these ones, you just keep pumping them until they fail. They all fail eventually. But to me, that just looks fantastic. Right, that just how good. Now, as this sits, I wouldn't mind seeing, this start to peter out here and then start to just flag a little bit. I'd love to see that. Okay. Now, the reason being is I think that would probably set us up pretty well. Let me just clean this chart up a bit, because if we got this retracement here is, it's come down, into the right sort of area that you would expect if you were looking for a cup. Okay. Now, whether or not this is a rounded bottom, you can argue that all you want. But that would look like a pretty good setup, I think, to take us on. And if that was going to be the case, if this did turn it, so to, you'd have to make a handle. But what I'm saying is this setup, if this started happening, you got this flag here, then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, well look, I've got a pattern here that I could possibly lean into. And then you'd be talking about, well, we don't know where the top is here, of course, but you'd be talking about, the one-to-one move, taking us just up towards those sort of areas that we're talking about, even through them. But you can see how all that lines up. So that would be something I'd be looking pretty closely at. Okay, but, so that I don't mind if it starts to just fail a little bit and cool off, because I think it probably needs to cool off a little bit. Like it's been a pretty good run. And when I just look at this in a Keltner situation, so here we had a free bar outside the Keltners and then we just cooled off, okay? Didn't quite get it here, but now you can see just as we've closed out, because we had such a fantastic end to the week, we're free barring outside the Keltners then, so I would be hoping for a little bit of a cool off. Now, it may not. It could just because they're outside doesn't mean that they necessarily will straight away cool off. They could go on for days yet. And like I said, I just wonder if there's a bit of a cup and handle forming here, or definitely the genesis of potentially a cup. So I think that's what I'd be on the lookout for. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily try to sell it. I wouldn't try to short this, but I think buying it just at the moment is probably a little bit dicey in the short term. So we know where the last. Let's just clean this up. We know that the last measured move pivot was here, so if we were going to top out, now this is two ways you can look at this. So you can be a bit more aggressive and you could look at this and you can just see how all the structure lines up there, but like I said, just because of how this is run, it's pretty hot. I just wonder if maybe we get a slightly deeper retracement, which I would not be upset about, and you would be thinking more about this down here. Okay, that would be the more patient way to go about it. But also, if this was going to be cup and handle, like, you probably don't want the retracement that deep. Okay, you would more want your retracement. Let's see. You would more want your retracement round here, I would suggest. Okay, and that would feed back into the shorter time frame sort of measured move, which would put us back. Let's just get this exactly right. Yeah, back into this zone. So that would be a bit more aggressive. Okay, so I don't know. Like I said, you can't really judge a cup and handle until it actually makes a qualified handle. And of course, you need the top. I think this is probably close enough to what you would call a double top if we did top out there. But that candle itself too, that doji candle looks, I mean, this is a 4 hour. If we take it to a daily, of course, it's a bigger, stronger candle. But you see what I'm getting at, right? Like, if we can just come back, then that sort of remains an option, I think, in my view. So that's something to be looking out for. Okay, so just coming in here to finish on GDX, and the most important thing that's happened here is that there was a gap in the market here that on Friday got filled in. Okay, you can see this was the gap. So if I come right back here, okay, that was the gap that we had in the market. Okay, and if we come back, we tested it once. Well, you could say it twice, right? Because this is a daily. So we had a double rejection there. Okay, we came back up, threatened it, teased it, and now we got through it. But to me, what's good here is that this doesn't look exactly like a flash in the pan. Okay, reason being, that's not a bad volume candle. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Just when I quickly bring in the moving average of the volume, you can see it's up there, right? It's more keeping in tune with some of these higher volume days. Okay, so we don't get up, we haven't been up above here too much. But what's good about this is just when we look at this on a market profile perspective, we've opened here, we've driven up, there's been a lot of business done around here just as the gap's closing, but they've actually closed the market pretty much on the high with some decent volume up here as well. Okay, so what I can see here is that, the letters represent the time period. So we got up here early in the day. We spent a lot of time up here, but we've pushed up, okay, because remember, this is KL and M would be the last period of the day. So even though we spent time KL, we're bouncing around between these two levels into the close. They've got it up above the gap and closed it up there. Okay, so that looks quite bullish to me. So what do I want to see from here? Now, it can be, when you've got these charts like this where it's quite choppy, it can be a little bit hard to draw a trend. So one of the things you could do is actually just turn it to a line chart, okay? Now, the line chart can make it a little bit easier to sort of join the price action up in terms of trends. So this every point, should we turn this to market size? So every point is the closing value. So you can see here, let me just change that. You can see here we can join this up, and it's got some much better geometry. Okay, just this little move that we've had since this sort of corrective low, and we've bounced away, and we're traveling along quite nicely, and now we've broken through the top of it. So the same things would still apply. We're talking about the closes here, so that'd be, because when we turn this back to a candle, sort of, it doesn't look like much, but basis the closing prices, that's got a better sort of geometry. So really, we don't, this sort of broke this one. Do we have one here? We haven't really hit a retracement trade yet, okay, but I guess there's a chance. I mean, this might extend a bit further on Monday. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But for me, I'd still be looking for the test back down. So what'd be nice is if, this extended up a little bit further, and then if you could come back and the test, coincided with the channel, or even better, if this really started to rip, okay, and it, I don't know if that's going to happen. It'd be nice if it did, but if the test corresponded with a retest of the gap that's now been filled. So we will have to wait and see. But look, there's no reason to think that this won't continue on in the medium to long term. But like I said, I'd just be a bit wary of the way that gold is just looking like it might need to put, and even think about this, that trend, right? That's 63% trend angle, and this one is not as steep at 56% as it sits on this particular scale of chart. So we'll see. Okay, there's reasons to be optimistic here, I think, but I would just be watching to see if this can maintain above that area. Okay, and I think ultimately what you want to see is the break up and the retest if we get it before we go on further. So that's kind of where we sit with GDX this week. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.